So we're going to look at how we can use SketchUp to build a 3D model, and we're going to use this CAD file here since a lot of the detail is worked out and we can reference a lot of things. Now all these things can be done without CAD files, but it's always a lot easier to show where and why pieces come from using CAD files. Within Affinity we do a lot of design work without CAD files, but to understand the basic principles of how and why things are done, it's great to start with this kind of setup. As you can see, everything is already drawn, detailed, so this is perfect to pull everything we need from to build our model, all the elevations, all the different details, the roof plan. So it's really going to help us move along and move through this series of videos. So the first thing that I do is I create polylines around the house to be able to extrude and create our basic massing model, and that's really where we start from. So what I want to do is make sure I'm on the 0 layer, go to my polyline command, and what I want to do is follow around the AC space. So we're just going to go through, create a polyline of our AC space, then we're going to come back and do our porches and our columns, and I'm going to show you really two different ways to do columns. As you can see here, this particular project has two different elevation types, a Spanish and an Italian 8, and what's cool in the Spanish, really this is just a wall that has holes punched out, so that's one way to build a model. And this one has columns, which is going to be a slightly different way to build, and I'm going to show you a cool feature of importing CAD into SketchUp. So where that's important is how we draw these columns as to what's going on. For the first version, where it's just simply a wall that we're going to punch out holes, we can again just draw polylines around the columns and extrude those up, and then we can modify them within SketchUp to get the arches. So we'll go through and draw all of our polylines for these columns, as well as the porch slabs. So we'll get that in there, and we'll get this. And it's okay if these lines overlap. We're going to use some of the tools we learned previously to really help us move through this pretty quickly. So another feature I'm going to show you is the second way of doing columns, where what I'm going to do is I'm going to find the center point of this column. Doesn't really matter center point or not, I just like using centers. I'm going to Control X to cut it, and Control Shift V will paste it back as a block, and I'm going to double click, and you can see it created this generic name. I'm going to copy that, REN to rename it, paste it here for the old name, and new name I'm going to call it column 01. So now we have this set up as a block named column 01. I'm going to RFE to reference edit, and then I'm going to draw this column outline in here. Now it looks similar to what we had done already, but it's actually going to be slightly different, and I'm going to pull these 2 feet out just to separate it out, and we'll know it's 2 feet so we can push it back in, and we'll check the rear elevation. I think there would be columns here as well. These ones will actually be slightly different, so we're going to make because you can see they're thinner, so we'll do a similar process. Control X, Control Shift V, Control C to copy that. We'll rename it, and we're going to rename this one to be column 02. And again, we're going to edit it and draw in our column outline. And we'll move this one up 2 feet and copy over we can put it here, and obviously be a little bit of editing on this one. Similarly, we're going to have to do some minor editing here, but we're just going to start engaging them where they kind of need to go, and it's really going to expedite certain features later on. So that's the ground floor. We have our AC space, we have our covered space, and we have our columns. So I'm going to come to the second floor, and we're going to do the same thing. Just going to go through and do our exterior outline. And close it up. You can see the rest of this is roof, so that's no real concern of ours right now. The only other thing I want to do is just verify the distance at which these are placed apart, which is 150 feet, just so we know. And if, say, this was a balcony, you would simply, add in your balcony line as well. But this one's just a roof, so we're not going to worry about that. Now what we can do is isolate our zero layer, and we'll just go in and grab all those little outlines that we had just drawn. And W block them out. Doesn't really matter where you go, what they name them. It's pretty irrelevant.